Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your weekly VR news. Now if you're new here, we prepare you for this week's new VR game releases. We briefly go over everything that transpired in the VR world last week, and then we focus in on a few major stories. Today, we're discussing how Microsoft is completely giving up on VR. We have some great game updates and free demos to check out. Horizon Worlds is making us cringe yet again, this time with the Oreoverse, and there's plenty more stories to go over. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by my sponsor Kiwi Design. They currently make my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap, which comes in multiple different versions. You can add an extra battery pack, high quality headphones, or even both. They also have other products like Valve Index style hand straps, and they just introduced a brand new RGB stand. Your controllers and headset magnetically connect. There's a charging indicator so you'll know when your headset's ready to go, and there's plenty of different RGB color options available. There's a link to Kiwi Design down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so normally we start these videos off with this week's new releases, but unfortunately I only have one new game, and it's a Quest 2 port from a 2018 title. Windlands 2 has finally made its way onto mobile VR, and now you get to explore this colorful world, swinging from grappling hooks with up to 3 of your friends. It's an epic journey to destroy gigantic titans and save the world from an ancient danger. Now this title was well received when it originally launched, and I'm happy more people finally get to experience it. But unfortunately that's it for this week's new releases, so I thought this would be a good time to give you some personal updates. Now I will be doing a video in the near future on all the releases coming in February, but this week specifically is pretty dead, and I had to record this video in advance because I'm currently on a sunny beach in the Caribbean. So instead of new releases, just give me 20 seconds to give you guys a quick channel update. For starters, thank you guys so much for your continued support. My passion for making videos on this channel has only increased over the last 3 years, and I can't believe in that time we're about to hit 60,000 subs. Now I'm always trying to rework things to create the best combination of content I enjoy making and videos you guys enjoy watching. So thank you guys for supporting me along the way, and I hope to give you guys better and better videos as time goes on. But I've already wasted enough of your time, so let's get back to the news. While there's no new releases, I have 2 really cool demos for you guys to check out. The first one is Premortal, a medieval survival title. Jump into a procedurally generated world, collect resources, and then build the city of your dreams. The game starting off with a single player mode, which includes the basic survival staples like gathering, crafting, planting, and building your own structures. There'll be a series of tasks to complete with an eventual ending, but they plan to grow this into a 10-person local server experience so you can experience this world with a bunch of your friends, and then eventually introduce official world servers, which will allow up to 1,000 players who could create their own marketplace and economy and sculpt the entire landscape. Overall, it's an absolutely amazing concept, but the official release date is still over a year away. Luckily though, you could jump in and get a sneak peek right now with their free demo on Steam. Now another demo I highly recommend is Gazzlers. I've already played through multiple levels of this game, and it's an absolute blast. It's a high intensity shooter that has you sitting on the back of a moving train. You'll unlock and upgrade weapons along the way, and you'll have to dodge enemy projectiles and take out hordes of enemies. It's definitely a new take on the roguelite experience, and if you're looking for fun above all else, I highly recommend you pick up the demo. Now this game will eventually release for multiple platforms, but the demo is only currently available on Steam. Now an upcoming release that I'm extremely excited to talk about is the VR mod for Half-Life 2 Episode 1. A few months back, the absolutely fantastic VR mod for Half-Life 2 dropped, and it's much better than the vast majority of native VR games that we're currently getting right now. Now since that mod originally released, they've added bug fixes, quality of life improvements, and even B-haptic support. Now next up on that list is support for Episode 1. Now if you're not familiar with Episode 1, it's actually the current conclusion of the Half-Life series, and it actually stemmed from Valve being frustrated that the development period between games was 2 to 3 years. So they decided to move forward with smaller episodic content, and then in true Valve fashion gave us a cliffhanger and immediately gave up on the series. Well, at least now we get to re-experience it in VR, and it actually ties into the ending of Half-Life Alyx, so I definitely recommend you check it out when it releases sometime in the first quarter of 2023. Now we're also getting an update for Walkabout Mini Golf. The Quest 2 and Quest Pro versions are getting a 33% resolution increase, so soon the game will look that much clearer. Now if you enjoy this title on the Pico 4, they are working on a clarity fix right now, so it might take a little bit longer, but your game will look clearer in the near future also. There's also a new course up for you guys to go check out, so big thanks to the team at Mighty Coconut who keep making this game better and better. And speaking of games getting better, Rec Room is planning to introduce full body avatars. After 6+ years of getting used to people just floating around, it looks like we'll finally have some legs. Now this might just be because they want more real estate for purchasable cosmetics, or maybe it was just finally time for a change. Whatever that reasoning may be, full body avatars are on the way, and they gave us some concept art that's giving off some strong Nintendo Mii vibes. While you may be sick of cartoony avatars, it's a fairly smart approach for VR. It helps keep system requirements low, allowing more people and platforms to access this title, and by not going with a realistic look, you don't have to deal with the uncanny valley. Now I'm just wondering if they'll ever add full body tracking. Now jumping back to VR games for a moment, Among Us VR has hit a major milestone, selling 1 million copies. Now I'm extremely happy for Shell Games and absolutely love all the titles they put out, but this puts into perspective the huge gap that still exists between flat screen gaming and VR gaming. On average, the flat screen version of Among Us still has 204 million monthly players. It's been downloaded over 500 million times and hit a peak number of 3.8 million concurrent users. Now, I don't point this out to throw shade at Among Us VR, but rather just point out the disparity in platforms. Whenever I hear VR developers are lazy and that's why the games are short, it's extremely frustrating for me, and I can only imagine how the developers feel. They're working with a much smaller team on an extremely tight budget. So if you're still wondering why you're not getting these huge AAA titles in VR, I hope these numbers help clear things up for you. But let's shift over to Meta announcing a partnership with the NBA. Starting later this year, you'll have the opportunity to watch live NBA games through the application called Xstadium. You'll have a 360-degree view of the action, and you can even interact with other people online. Now, I'm yet to personally test out Xstadium, but if it's able to deliver a clear image, then this could definitely be a much more immersive way to watch the game. But if you're looking for something that'll make you cringe in VR, why not check out the Oreoverse? That's right, guys, Oreo has launched its own metaverse experience. And prepare yourself because this story only just started its descent downhill. So in order to celebrate their new flavor, the most Oreo, they've created their own cookie-themed metaverse inside of Horizon Worlds. Martha Stewart and her gardener will stream themselves exploring the Oreoverse. And I kid you not, this is a real story. I am excited to make my metaverse debut in partnership with one of my favorite cookie brands. A quote from Martha Stewart. Now I'm just curious at this time, is it Meta's job to make the metaverse and Horizon Worlds look as lame as possible? Who is this experience for? You have to be at least 13 years old to use a Quest, and I don't know many teenagers who lose their crap over Oreos that they want to go to virtual Oreo land. And I'm sure they're scoring some extra cool points getting Martha Stewart. Okay, I'll stop ranting right there because my eyeballs are starting to bulge out of my head, but I really don't get this crap. So let's move into a topic that makes more sense for me, and that's Microsoft completely giving up on VR. Just like many other tech companies, Microsoft just recently had some mass layoffs. Now this included 10,000 employees, the majority of which all worked on VR-related projects. They're shutting down Altspace. After their failures with the HoloLens and the US military, that team's also getting the axe, and so is their mixed reality team. And there's a simple reason why these teams were targeted. They're the least likely to create a return in the near future. Meta has continually signaled that VR is a long-term endeavor, and based on some leaks surrounding Apple, it appears the company also understands this. This is just not in line with Microsoft's overall approach. Historically, they only go all in on a product when it has been officially proven. Now, sometimes they're too late and it's a bust, like Microsoft Phones and Zune, and other times they're able to pull it off, like the Xbox. They're also currently engaged in a long-term console war. In order to get ahead of Sony, they're currently hemorrhaging money by buying up all the major studios and subsidizing their Game Pass. That's right, Microsoft isn't making money off their Game Pass, just like when Meta wasn't making money when they sold the Quest 2 at $300. They're just trying to get more and more people to buy in and weaken their competition. So if Microsoft is ever going to get back into VR, it'll likely be much further down the road, if and when it's a much more mainstream product, and then they'll just copy the competition and sell it at a subsidized price. But currently, Microsoft is saying bye for now when it comes to VR. So if you've been holding out for Halo VR or Gears of War VR, don't expect that anytime soon.
And that was today's video, brought to you by my dad, Mateo311. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here,
Consider subscribing.
consider
Consider subscribing.
consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
We'll see you guys on next time.
We'll see you guys on next time.